That is an insight into what it looks like in Eagle Pass, Texas, as thousands of migrants wait to be processed, leaving authorities overwhelmed and without the resources to deal with the recent surge. This week, the US southern border saw a record number of migrant encounters, with more than 12,600 encounters on Monday, according to Fox News sources. Facilities are well and truly past the point of reaching capacity, and reporters on the ground say the situation at the southern border is only getting worse.
Is there a reason or an explanation that they give you as to why now? Do they see something in U.S. policy or politics that would give them and the cartels reason to push forward?
So we asked that question to all of the migrants who have come across, and a lot of the answers we get is they felt now was the time. And then we'll push them and we'll say, well, why do you feel now is the time? And you might have seen our interview a couple weeks ago. Several of the migrants have referenced President Biden and the policies. They feel that they're going to be released into the United States. We had that Moroccan gentleman tell us 2 weeks ago on camera, I love you, Joe Biden. Thank you for everything, Joe Biden. He told us he wants to go to New York City. Well, we found out just a few days after that interview, he was released by Border Patrol. He is in New York City right now. So they know if they get here and they step foot on U.S. soil, they've got a very good chance of being released. And Bill, I will add, CBP sources tell us as of this morning, they currently have over 25,000 migrants in federal custody. That is way over capacity. So these mass releases are only going to crank up in the coming hours and days, and more people are still coming. So the situation is just getting worse.
People are reacting to the vision that keeps coming in from the southern border. One person posted on X, why even have a border if it's not protected properly? We are all paying for this one way or another. Another wrote, an open border is not a border. On Monday, Texas Governor Greg Abbott signed in a new law giving police the authority to arrest migrants who cross the border illegally, insisting the bill will help stop the tidal wave of illegal entry into Texas. But the White House press secretary has slammed the new measure, describing it as extreme.
Question on the new immigration law in Texas. Does White House have any thoughts on that law? And there appears to be some litigation that's starting over the law as well.
Look, this is an extreme law that will not and does not make the communities in Texas safer. It just doesn't. And I think to add to that is that it is very much in line with what Republicans, many Republicans like to do or tend to do, which is demonize immigrants and also dehumanize immigrants. This is part of this. And so this is not who we are as a country. This is not who we should be as a country. Communities should not be individually targeted and put into harm's way. And this is what we're seeing. Again, this is something that Governor Abbott has done over and over again. There are plenty of examples that I've listed out from here before, whether it's leaving migrants in the side of the road in the middle of winter, installed razor wire near the border, making it more dangerous for Border Patrol to do their jobs, and placed bayous in the river, making it harder for Border Patrol to do their jobs as well. So this is certainly extreme as we see it, and it is incredibly unfortunate, but this is what we see from particular Republicans trying to dehumanize a group of people who are coming here, or some of them trying to migrate here, and they're putting them in harm's way.
But there's no denying the crisis at the southern border is having a major impact on Joe Biden's popularity. A new Monmouth University poll found Joe Biden's approval rating is at an all-time low at 34%. The president received particularly low marks for his handling of immigration at 26% and inflation at 28%. And it's not the only poll that found Americans are losing faith in the president.
Well, as the year comes to an end, things aren't looking too good for President Joe Biden. Even his good friends at CNN have got bad news for him.
we have new CNN poll numbers this morning in two critical battleground states. The news is not great for President Biden and his campaign. The numbers show Donald Trump leading in both Georgia and Michigan. In Georgia, a state Biden carried by a very narrow margin in 2020, registered voters say they prefer Trump over Biden by 5%.
Oh dear. I caught up with Kristen Tate in the US to discuss how the president goes into what the Americans call the holiday season with some really ominous polling.
Yes, and I've been reading reports all week for the last week that Biden and his administration, they are getting very nervous by these polls. What's happening here, Chris, is that this election is becoming a referendum on Joe Biden. And up until now, the Democrats have been counting on this being a referendum on Donald Trump, as it was in 2020. They won that election by whipping up the public into this frenzy over Donald Trump being a threat to democracy and, the insurrection of January 6th. And at this point, they have been panicking constantly every day for years. Like, people hear this stuff now about threats to democracy and Donald Trump, and they just kind of yawn and roll their eyes. And instead, they're thinking about the fact that every time they go to the grocery store, they can barely afford to buy, milk and chicken for dinner. The Joe Biden administration has made life in the United States worse in every measurable way. And that is what this election has become about. And at the same time, of course, as we talk about all the time on the show, Joe Biden is becoming more entrenched by the day in his family scandals. So it's not looking good for Joe Biden.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, those cost of living issues always bite hard in politics. We're seeing that play out in Australia this year as well. But we keep talking also about how Joe Biden is so accident prone. And I've got to show this clip where Joe Biden is just going to his car and the reporter's yelling out to him that he's looking like he's got a lot of trouble in the polls. He tells them that they're reading the polls all wrong. And then we have an accident. Have a look.
Mr. President, why are you losing to Trump in the polls?
Yeah, Kristen, and a car crashed into the back of the presidential motorcade. It's all okay. You can see the Secret Service officers are worried, of course, as you are in this day and age. But it's just typical of Joe Biden, isn't it? At the moment, the polls plunging, him in denial, and boom, crash.
Yes, it's very emblematic for what's going on right now with this president. I know people in Democrat elite circles are just desperate to get him to step aside and replace him with somebody, and that very well may happen, which I know has been your prediction, Chris. But there is a chance that this man is just so desperate to cling on to power that he'll refuse to step aside. I mean, Joe Biden has wanted to become president since he was, born. The day he was born, he wanted to become president, it seems. So I'm not sure he's going to step aside so easily. We'll find out. But if he wants to stay and he refuses to go, the Democrats have a real problem. And the only thing they can do is just try to make Trump so terrifying to suburban voters and independents that they will just hold their nose and vote for Biden. But I'm just not sure that's going to work this time around like it did last time.
Yeah, it's been a hell of a year, of course, Kristen. We've talked about every twist along the road. I suppose the highlights have been the political turmoil with the former president and Republican front-runner Donald Trump turning up in court facing those prosecutions. There was the drama on the Hill with the speaker being tossed aside, of course. But the real theme of the year has been the mental decline of the president, Joe Biden. Just time and time again, he looks uncertain, confused and befuddled. Here's a little collection.
The Grand Canyon, one of the Earth's 9 wonders of the world. Literally. Over $1.3 billion. And I love your ears. I love them. They're really cool. What's your name?
Jasmine.
If it holds near and dear to you that you like to be able to. Anyway.
Oh, just some of the highlights, Kristen. There'll be more to come. So tell us, as you say, there's pressure on Joe Biden. Many Democrats polls show would prefer he steps aside and they get another candidate. But what do you say after such a tumultuous year? What are you predicting for 2024, the election year?
Look, I've actually come around to your view on this, Chris. I suspect that, at the last minute, the Democrats are going to force Biden aside and that they will replace him with someone fresh like Gavin Newsom, who will be able to trick essentially Americans into voting for the same left-wing nonsense that has destroyed this country under Joe Biden. Someone like Newsom would, appear to be a break from the constant chaos that people perceive surrounding the other two candidates, Trump and Biden. And, if they do it last minute like that, it gives Republicans far less time to dig up dirt on Newsom and run against him. So that's certainly what they want. And they gave Gavin Newsom a test when they put him on Fox News here in the United States and actually had him debate Ron DeSantis. Gavin Newsom did a very good job. He's very slick at, presenting these really disastrous policies that have destroyed his state of California, where he's governor, as being wonderful and empowering. And I've come around to your view on that, Chris. I truly believe that Joe Biden will not be the nominee. He just does not have the physical or mental strength at this point. And it's gotten to the point where people I know, even staunch Biden supporters, just cringe every time they hear him talk. And they feel bad for him. I mean, this is a man who should be enjoying his last years with his grandchildren. And instead, he's being wheeled out in front of the country to be laughed at because he can't even get through a sentence of English.